This is an exclusive excerpt from the Stuph File Program with Peter Anthony Holder.
Recently, we lost an amazing character actor, Conchata Ferrell, best known for playing the housekeeper Berta on 2.5 Men. Conchata was 77 years old. She had suffered a heart attack in May and never recovered. She was eventually transferred to a long-term care facility and put on a respirator and dialysis, then a hospice facility, until she passed away on October the 12th. I had the pleasure of talking to her back in May of 2009. That was at the 6-year mark of her role as Berta, halfway into the dozen years that she played that feisty character. Here's part of that conversation now.
Talking to a lot of people today about the show who really enjoy it, and they all use the same word, saucy.
Saucy?
Saucy. And this is without prompting from me.
Well, I think that people tend to call any domestic servant who talks back saucy.
In the role that you play as Berta, how much was on the written page when you first saw the role, and how much of it is Conchata?
Well, first of all, everything in our show is written. They come up, we sometimes say things that they like, but everything is written. When I auditioned for the role, I was only supposed to do 2 shows, and they were looking for, I think, something a little more ethnic than me. But they were not quite sure what they wanted to do with her, so they brought in, all the usual suspects, all the character people. So they asked me for a European, Middle Eastern European accent, and I thought, well, I do a fairly decent Russian accent, and I worked it, and then I worked it in my own voice, and I went, I'm going to ask if I can do it twice, because I do it better in my own voice. And I got there, and there was about 22 women there, and I went, they're never going to listen to it twice. So when I went in, I said, I know you're looking for an ethnic kind of a approach to this role, and I said, but, I come with my own ethnicity, and I think that this works better in Trailer Park. And they laughed and said, whatever makes you happy. And I think one of them actually fell off the couch when I read it. So what they did was they took that Trailer Park thing and ran with it. So that's the contribution that I have made. I brought Trailer Park to Malibu.
Now, many years ago, you were on a sitcom.
Hot L Baltimore.
Hot L Baltimore, yes. A Norman Lear sitcom. And one of the things that was interesting is that Norman Lear had a way of finding people on the stage and bringing them to television. Was that the situation with you?
Well, Hot L Baltimore was a play.
Right, exactly.
And I was in the play. I did April in the play. And I did it, I think, 377 times. Some of Norman's people saw me. And when he came to New York, he came to see it, and so I just sort of went with it. He just brought me out. He would have brought Judd Hirsch, who played the desk clerk, but Judd was already committed to a show called The Law. So yeah, he found me there.
When you were assigned to do that show, and unfortunately it only lasted, 13 episodes?
13 episodes. We were Norman's first failure.
I was about to say, Norman had a great track record, but albeit most of that track record was with CBS.
Yes, ABC.
Did you think this was, okay, this is it, this is my ticket?
Yeah. I think probably I did. It was more important to me when I found out that he had bought the play.
Right.
It was more important to me that nobody else do April. She was given to me as a Christmas present by the playwright.
Really?
Yes. So I felt like she was mine. I created her, I breathed life into her, and it was so important to me that I do it. I don't know if I thought about my ticket, because when I got out here, my dressing room was bigger than any place I'd ever lived.
Another great role that you were known for is you had, 15 episodes on L.A. Law?
I had a year.
A year?
I had a year on the L.A. Law, so I guess that would be...
As Susan Bloom?
As Susan Bloom, yes. She was one of my very favorite roles.
Why is that?
because she had power.
Mm.
And I always like to play a woman who's got something that I'd like to have. It sort of lets you walk a mile in somebody, in a pair of shoes you'd really like to wear.
Right.
And she was richer than God, and she had power, and it was really fun. She was really fun.
Well, Berta has power. No one messes with that woman.
Berta has enormous power. Berta has absolute confidence in who she is, and she just doesn't worry whether anybody likes her or not. She just is who she is, and I think, I find a great deal of pleasure and enjoyment at the ridiculousness of these rich people.
When, again, going back to the ABC experience, you were on Hot L Baltimore. It didn't work out. It was a Norman Lear show, and everyone thought, well, this is going to take off. So have you had any difficulty handicapping projects you're working on? In other words, when you got 2.5 Men, and again, albeit it was only for 2 episodes, but when you saw it, when you got the script, did you say, oh, this is a hit?
No, I didn't. I mean, it was a wonderful script. They're wonderful writers. But I love the character, and I usually just approach from the character. And I did know that it was already picked up because, I didn't do the pilot. I did the first show that they shot, other than the pilot. And it was only supposed to be, like I said, a 2-show arc. But the thing of it is when I did the first show, I came home and I said to my husband, I went, boy, I hope they like me as much as I like them, because I fit here. I don't know why I fit here, but I really fit here. And I ended up doing 8 or 9 shows that first year. But we knew by the I'd say the 3rd show that it was a hit. I don't think anybody thought about 6 seasons, which we have just finished, but we knew it was a hit. So when they picked me up for the 2nd year and picked me up as a regular on the season, my daughter had longed to go to a really good art school, and we couldn't afford it. And when they picked me up, the first thing I did was call her and say, pick your art school. If they'll take you, I'll give you 4 years, because this show's going to do that.
Excellent. One of the things about the show, despite the fact the show is called 2.5 Men, the thing that's interesting is it does have 2 very, very strong characters from 2 very different stations. Berta as a domestic and the Holland Taylor character as their mom.
Yes, and Melanie as the stalker.
And, of course, Melanie as the stalker. Yes. The women are written rather strongly in the show, and sometimes that's not always the case, especially in supposedly a guy-centric show.
Definitely a guy-centric show, but remember that Chuck Lorre, who is our executive producer and one of the creators on the show, wrote for and produced Roseanne,
right,
and Grace Under Fire, and Sybil, and Dharma and Greg.
True.
So he had always done women. I think he just felt it was really time to do boys.
By the way, we had Chuck Lorre on the program a little while back, and I sent him an email today telling him that you were going to be on the show. And he sent me back an email saying, and this is a quote, "You'll love Chatty. She's the best." They call you Chatty?
Chatty, yeah. I'm from West Virginia. And nobody's quite sure where my mother got the name. Whether she lived in a mining camp when she was younger, whether she had lived with somebody who had a similar name, or whether she read it in a book. But she named me Conchata, or she actually named me Conchata and then Galen. And my father went, oh my God, and cut it to Chatta Gale. And then it sort of like evolved into Chatty over the years. So it's Chatty. Everybody calls me Chatty.
How does someone who starts off life in West Virginia make it to Hollywood? What was the plan?
Well, nobody'd marry me. I mean, where I grew up, that's what you expected somebody to do. And nobody'd marry me, so I had to find something else to do. And I'm one of those people who've done everything. From working in a factory to working in a hotel to teaching history, just kept looking for what it was, and accidentally got into a little show in West Virginia somewhere, I walked on stage and got a laugh, and every pore in my body opened up, and I went, oh, boy, this is it. And I was so stupid, I just packed my bags and went to New York.
Now, packing your bags and going to New York, did you take acting classes while you were there, or just?
But I also had a stroke of remarkable luck. I went with a friend, and we got a place, and I got a job, a 9-to-5 job, and I knew somebody else who was there, and they took me to this little theater. It was in an attic, and it was just forming. I didn't become a member right away, but I became one of the people who handed out leaflets on the street and that kind of a thing. But this little theater turned out to be Circle Repertory Theater, which was one of the most important theaters in New York during the 70s and 80s and 90s. Off-Broadway, Hot L Baltimore was born there. It was like Lanford Wilson was the resident playwright. I took classes with the theater and worked 9 to 5 and worked at the theater from about 5:30 until 1 o'clock in the morning, and failed with them and succeeded with them. And in our 5th season, Lanford wrote Hot L for us and put us on the map, and it was history then, because we did about maybe 20 hit shows in New York after that.
Wow.
So it was just a piece of fortune. It really was. I mean, even though I say I was really stupid when all my pores opened up and went, this is it, it really was it.
Did you or do you enjoy stage more than film?
Yes, I like stage very much, but you see, I like sitcom best of all.
Why is that?
It's sort of a combination of the two. I get tired of a play after about 3 to 4 months. You know, you do it 8 shows a week, and I tend to get tired. What we do is we do a 22-minute play a week with the same character, but the circumstances are always different. But I've got that live audience, and I don't have to worry about the camera because it's a multi-camera,
right?
And somebody else worries about that. And so all I have to do is come out and commit myself to the character and to the rhythm of the piece, and then the audience is just my best friend. Because, you know, they start to laugh and my pores open up, and, you know, and it's like an E-ride, or I don't know if you remember E-rides, but it's like the best ride in the amusement park.
Right. I understand that you guys have a ritual. Charlie Sheen does a fist bump with you guys.
Oh, yeah. You know, before we go out, he comes out, and instead of saying, you know, good luck or all that kind of thing, he comes out and puts his fist out, and we bump fists, and that means, you know, have a good show. And then after the show, if it's really been a good one, he bumps fists again, you know, and it's a good show. And it's just Charlie's way of being the camp leader, you know.
But I also hear he hits hard.
Sometimes. Sometimes. That may depend on what's going on, you know.
You have been nominated for, is it 3 Emmys?
Yeah. One for L.A. Law and 2 for 2.5 Men.
What's it like going to the ceremony and sitting in the audience, waiting to hear your name mentioned?
Well, I think the first time you're nominated, the first time is like, you know, you write a speech and you get ready just in case. And I think maybe the second time as well. But now I just go and root for the show. I'm not real good on the red carpet. I'm not a glamorous woman, and they're not really that interested in taking my pictures. You know, sometimes they ask me to move along so they can get a picture of somebody coming in behind me.
Really?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Oh man.
You know, I mean, one thing about being a character woman and, you know, and looking like I do is you maintain your humility.
After, again, I don't want to keep bringing up Hot L Baltimore. Actually, I do, but anyway. After Hot L Baltimore,
character.
It was a great character. And then we should mention you played a hooker in that character. And you said it was written for you. So what was...
He writes specifically for actors. And he doesn't necessarily write who you are. He writes who he'd like to see you do.
Right.
And I have to be honest with you, that character had a lot in common with Berta, except, she was flashier. She didn't care what anybody thought about her. She just assumed people liked her. She was funny as hell. And she was a woman who was just doing the best with what God gave her to work with. I did 377 performances of that character, and when I put her away, she kept a lot. I kept a lot of her. Mm-hmm. I had to find her in me. And so a lot of who I am today came from that character. So she is very dear to me.
The reason why I bring that show up is you described yourself as a character actor, which is a good thing because character actors tend to get work. I mean, you come out to Hollywood, you're on a sitcom which only lasts 13 weeks, and a lot of people don't get a second shot. And sadly, a lot of women don't get a second shot, but you managed to keep working.
Yes, I did. But you notice I haven't been the star of one since. But yeah, I did. And I've always been a character woman. So I really haven't had to be too concerned about the fact that I was getting older, that my weight has gone up and down, and I've worked. I'm sort of the blue collar of my industry.
Right.
And that's where I come from. I understand what it is, and I like it. I like, well, first of all, I like to work. There's very few things I like as much as acting, and particularly comedy. It's just my thing. I just like it.
Have you had periods of time in your career when people or agents or studios tried to change you?
Not studios so much, but I've had agents, beg me to get thin. And, if I could have done it, I would have done it. But no, nobody's really expected me to change much. If I fit with a character, I fit with a character. I've got some work out there that I don't bring up. But I also have some really good stuff out there that make me really happy that I did it and breathed life into those women. I really like the women I play most of the time.
Is there a character or a role that you'd like to play that you haven't had the chance to yet?
Well, I'd really like to do a couple villains. I also do drama, and I would really love to do a villain. I usually play, the hard-bitten heart of gold. And I like that woman. I like her very much. But I would like to explore the villainy in myself.
So what you're saying is you have a dark side?
Yeah, I do. Believe it or not, I've always wanted a shot at Lady Macbeth.
Really?
Yeah. But I still have the Southern accent, so I don't really fit into Shakespeare really well. And I would love to try, now this is theater, but I would love to try like a Moliere or a Noel Coward kind of, that mannered kind of thing.
Right.
This is so opposite of who I am. I'm such a peasant. Holland is this classy lady, and that's who she is, and I'm this peasant.
But it's always fun to watch the two of you go toe to toe occasionally.
I would really like. Now that's the one thing I would really like to see. I'd really like to see them throw us at each other in a show, because it's really hard to figure out who would come out on top.
I also think it'd be really tough for the two boys if those two ladies became friends.
Yes. Yes, there is that.
Well, it's always a joy to watch you on television, regardless of what you might be playing. It certainly is fun watching you as Berta on the television show.
And I have great writers.
Yes, you do. And it's congratulations on the fact that you'll continue to put your daughter through Yale.
Thank you.
For at least, and you'll be doing this for at least another 3 years.
Yeah, well, she should finish up next year. So, I might even be able to save a little money.
There you go.
There you go.
Put an addition on the house or something.
Yeah.
Conchata, thank you very, very much for taking the time to be on the program with us.
Well, thank you.
So it's been a pleasure and an honor to have you on the show.
Thank you very much.
That's part of a conversation I had with Conchata Ferrell, who managed to play Berta for another 6 years after we spoke in May of 2009. Conchata passed away on October the 12th at the age of 77. She always played tough, ballsy broads, but everybody who worked with her and everyone who had a chance to talk with her always said what a down-to-earth, lovely woman she was. I can concur. She will be missed.
You've just heard an exclusive excerpt from the Stuph File Program with Peter Anthony Holder. To hear any or all of the full hour-long shows, visit thestufffile.com. Stuph is spelled S-T-U-P-H. That's thestufffile.com. A presentation of Flying Fish Communications.